forward to today is something that's off the charts. I mean, we have, as has already been mentioned, and let's really emphasize this, in just 3 years' time, this has grown to where now over 1,300 sites that we know of, and we know that there are 56 countries, including Iraq, Iran, and Syria. We have a phenomenal movement here. But I want you to think of one thing. It can't stop here. It has to keep moving forward, okay? We have to remember this battle is still ongoing. And I can tell you that from the crowd I was walking through yesterday, right over there. Okay, now it represents a particular portion of those who don't want to see us continue to move forward with protecting and preserving the soul of our country, families, life, and so forth. I realize that. They don't speak for all Americans, but they are very angry. There's stuff I could not even put on camera, and I can't include in my video. The language, the behavior, the things written on the signs. Clearly, this is a much more peaceful event here right now, right? It's kind of funny when we walked out of St. Peter's to start the procession with our Blessed Mother's statue of Our Lady. I was looking at the different police officers there, and God bless them, 4 or 5 of them. 4 or 5 of these guys looked at me and just gave me a thumbs up, and I was walking by with the camera. All right, they, I think, appreciate this type of thing. They realize the difference. All right, the lines are being drawn, we know that. And there's a lot of talk of spiritual warfare. I'm not going to cover stuff I know the Father Heilman has talked about or Chuck or the other speakers have talked about so far. I want to address one main thing. 2 words. I want you to repeat after me. Own it.
Own it.
How serious are we about owning this battle that we are in the midst of it? We are the soldiers that God has called up at this time. Are we serious about it? Is it a passing fad? Is it something we're going to do just a little bit of here and there? We're on fire for a while and then we drift back. Right now, I know all over the country, because my wife has even told me this, back in Lincoln, Nebraska, it's cold and it's rainy. And the website's down, we know that, we're praying. God help us in that department there. Spiritual attack, diabolical attack. Demons like to mess with mechanical things, with plumbing, with electrical circuits. This is, when I was at EWTN for 8 years doing Life on the Rock down there, whenever we'd have a guest on the show who was an exorcist or someone of that caliber, we'd always have some technical problem, something serious. So yeah, we keep praying for that. But even in the midst of the site being down, there are still people all across this country right now and for the next couple hours who are making their way to parishes, to different churches, maybe to homes, to somewhere. They're coming together. Maybe they're not sure how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, what's going to happen, but they're making their way. They're coming with a sense of hope. They're coming with a sense of confidence. They're coming with a sense of urgency in the times that we're in. Now, sadly, far, far more people are making their way to football stadiums all across the country today. They have a different idea of urgency, a different idea of importance. And look, I got nothing against someone who wants to enjoy a game. My point is, this is not a game. This is a battle. It's real. It's never been more real. And I would say in our time, it's never been more in our face. Now, what I saw yesterday in that crowd as I moved through, over 1,000 protesters, I think a lot of the people that were there because it was a historical moment. They were there because something big was about to happen. And they announced that they actually passed the vote, the confirmation came down, and that he was going to be the next Supreme Court Justice, Kavanaugh. And they booed, and they screamed, and they yelled, and the next speaker that got up started to swear, we're not going to take this and that anymore, and so forth. I will never repeat it, but you get the idea. Their anger and their rage is palpable. I walked through that crowd, and I'm not going to say I sensed evil. I'm not going to say that, because I don't know that. What I did sense was godlessness. An attitude of God is not in this crowd. God is not in this attitude, in this movement, in this effort. But God is in this effort.
Amen. Amen.
And that's...
Website just came up.
Website just came up. Praise God. Thank you, God, and all the prayers. Thank you, Father. Awesome. There you go. That says it. Let's move on. No, here we go. So what we need to realize, ladies and gentlemen, in the times that we're in, is we know that the crowd is opposing this effort. We know there's a rage against a movement towards trying to make our country holy again, trying to go back to certain Judeo-Christian values that we had when we founded this country. We have to be as committed as we have ever been. We have to what? Own it. We have to what?
Own it.
Now, one of the things yesterday I found and I heard was a lot of screaming and a lot of yelling, and they would get the crowd screaming. Answer this. Who's mad? We're mad. Who's angry? We're angry. Who's not going to take anymore? We're not going to take anymore. We need to remember. I know, it's kind of funny, isn't it? It's like they know how to scream and shout. That's great. right? And then someone breaks through the police line and runs up the steps to the Supreme Court doors, and they shout and scream because they had some kind of a victory. They saw that as a victory, that someone broke through the police line and ran up the steps. And they cheered and screamed for that moment. And I thought to myself right then and there, you know what? We are so diametrically opposed to what we see as victory. I think the phenomenal, historic, epic event of this, as Father Hammond has called it, good friend of mine, Father Hammond, spiritual D-Day, that we are in right now and has been going on since last night for us, when in other parts of the world the Rosary rallies began. And they will continue on even after this one ends. And there's something amazing about that. But I want to emphasize this. In the last 100 years, and I talk about this because I do a lot of traveling to men's conferences, parish missions, family events, marriage conferences. I do all kinds of talks around the country. And I bring it up every single time. The Marian apparitions, church approved, of the Blessed Mother in the last 100 years have emphasized above everything else to fight this spiritual battle for us when it comes to prayer, the Rosary. How often does she ask us to do it?
Daily.
How often?
Every day.
So what should we do then? Own it. Own it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't hold the cue card up. I should have. You're supposed to say this right now. If we're if she's calling for us to pray the Rosary every day, we need to own that request. It needs to be a personal response of, yes, I will do that. When you're driving to work, when you're driving home from work, when you're waiting at the bus stop, the proverbial bus stop, and it's late at night and you got to get your Rosary in, but you're tired, don't lay down and pray it and then fall asleep, and the next day someone says, don't worry, your guardian angel finished it for you. First time I heard that, I thought, well, my angel probably prays better than I do anyway. I'll just let him take care of it from now on. No, don't do that. Get up and walk around if you have to, or kneel on a hard floor. That'll keep you awake. The point is, if we're going to own it, that means we do it whether it feels good or not. We do it because we know it's right. We do it because we know Our Lady has asked for it. But there's no magical solution to this, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people sit around and they wait for some sort of injection from an angel, some sort of spiritual injection to make them get up and feel like they want to do these spiritual things. It's like people who want to get in shape. Right? I want to exercise, but you know what? I want to feel like I want to exercise. You're waiting for something to be injected into you so you get up and start exercising. As if you have no control over it, it's just happening. That's not what we need to be doing. Free will. Free will means we have to own it. So when Our Lady said to the children in Fatima when she appeared in 1917, 6 times, she said, pray the Rosary daily to bring peace to the world and to avert war. Do you know how many times she said that to them? It's one of the only things that she said in each of the 6 apparitions. She made clear that praying the Rosary can bring peace and it can avert war. That's the power of this. Now, when I travel around and I speak about Fatima, people oftentimes come up and say, would you think that they think the bishops, the Pope did the right thing? I mean, did they really consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary like she asked? I get that question a lot, as if there's sort of a kind of a, yeah, it's on them, isn't it? And my answer to that is this: I don't know. That's above my pay grade, right? That's outside my security clearance, what they do on that level. And I don't bother myself with that. I bother myself with the things that Mary asked me to do. Because I could say to any one of us here, ask the same question to all of us, have we done what she's asked us to do? She didn't ask you, ma'am, to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart. You can't, can you? No, nor can I. Nor can you, nor can you, none of it. We can't, it's not up to us. This she asked us all to do. This. And this we need to own. We need to make this ours. Make this an extension of who you are. So that when you die, you get that traditional, Catholic funeral. If we're fortunate enough to have a viewing of the body where, depending on how we die, if they can view our body, right, when we die, we lay there in a casket, arms across, and they normally wrap the Rosary over the hands, right? Make this an extension of who you are every day, especially if you're a parent, so your children see it. The last thing I wanted was for my kids to walk up when I'm lying there in my casket, look down, see the Rosary on my hand, and say, what's that? He never, that wasn't, no, he didn't own that. He never made that part of his life. I didn't want that. Right? So I want my kids to know, I want my family to know that this is an extension of who I am as a Catholic man.